Okay, so I gotta make a confession. I have been struggling. And it's funny because a lot of people think, oh, you're a doctor, you're a plant-based chef, you got it all together. But when it comes to sugar, it has a chokehold on me. And it's funny because I was gonna post this video and kind of share it with you guys. Hey, these vegan cheesecake cupcakes, they're so amazing, have good portion control, will help you with your sugar cravings. But the real truth is that I couldn't even take a picture of the thumbnail because I ate too many of the vegan cheesecake cups, okay? I actually have to do the recipe over today in order to make sure I take the picture of the thumbnail. And so why am I recording this? Because I just wanted to be honest, like no one has it together. Social media, everybody, look, let me talk about myself. I don't have it all together, even though I know the right answer. I can go in doctor mode and say, hey, with every carb, you should have a protein. You want to make sure you're monitoring your portions. You want to make sure that you don't restrict, but that you still have some moderation, and then you balance and say all those things that I'm supposed to say. But in real life, it's hard. For me, it is hard, even though I know the right answers. And so I felt like that would be helpful to share with someone. Knowing everything doesn't mean you're going to do everything right. So then the question becomes, okay, so what is the answer? What do we do? What do I do when there is a struggle? And the reality, at least for me, is that it depends. Like sometimes what I have to do is take a step back and go, okay, am I really hungry? Why do I want this sweet? So like when I went to my grandparents' house for Thanksgiving, there was so much nostalgia, just being around my family. It just brought back so many amazing memories of like food, sweets, so many sweets, like sweet potato pie, pumpkin pie for those that like it. It's all right. It's still not better than sweet potato pie. And if you think it's better than that, come on, sweet potato pie all day. I brought my cheesecake. So I've been doing this candy pecan cheesecake and also a cheesecake that doesn't have any of the layers, and it's vegan. And you would assume like, oh, it's vegan, it's healthy. It's healthier than typical cheesecake. So there's no dairy. I'm using maple syrup instead of your typical sugar, but it's still sugar. Sugar is still sugar. Yes, it's not as refined, but it is still sugar. I know. Tell me how I know. I know because when I eat one slice, I'm like, ooh, I want another slice and another and another. And I have this struggle of saying, all right, I got to take a step back. So that's why I came up with this cheesecake cupcake recipe, even though I still had too many of them. So what's the solution? What's the answer? It depends. I know that's not what anybody wants to hear. Just stay with me, okay? It really does depend. Like each person is different. My body now is different from when I was 24. It was different before I had a child. I got a 6-year-old now. I'm not that same Shayla. You're not that same person, even from last year. So it's really about figuring out, why am I going to this? And I know for me, food can be such a comfort. What I find is that a lot of times I'll go to sweets when I'm tired, when I'm stressed, or even when I'm happy. So when I was at my grandparents' house for Thanksgiving, it was a happy time. I had so much fun and so many good memories, and I wanted to eat food that went along with that feeling. The problem was when I got back home, I was still in that mode of like, ooh, I want something that tastes really good. Let me see what's in the fridge. And what was in the fridge was the leftover cheesecake cups or cheesecake cupcakes. I don't know, cupcakes, cups. My husband had a few, my daughter had a few, but I had most of them. Even with me knowing that I shouldn't. And it's not about restricting. And it's also, for some people, it's not about, well, let me take a step back. Some people will say the answer is moderation, balance. That can be true for some people. I know for me, what tends to work better is not even saying I can't have it, but really asking myself, why do I want this? Like, do I want this because I actually want something sweet, or do I want this because I'm trying to fill a need that can't be filled with food? So I encourage you, ask yourself that question. For those of you who are believers, and faith is a big part of your walk, that's a big part of my walk. And I want to share a verse that's been really helpful for me. Make sure I say it right. Thank you, Google. So Paul says in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 12, all things are lawful for me, but not all things are helpful. All things are lawful for me, but I will not be dominated by anything. Another version says, all things are lawful, but not all things are profitable. All things are lawful, but not all things edify. So the question I had to ask myself is, yes, I can eat whatever I want, whenever I want to eat it. Nobody can stop me. But the question I had to ask myself is, when I'm eating sweets, especially processed sweets, is it actually helping me? And for me, in this season that I'm in right now, the answer is not really. The answer is no. Sometimes, not really. I don't know. Not no, hard and fast. But it's not super helpful. And I think what I share with my patients, when I share with friends, is like getting past the superficial part of what I'm doing. Because a lot of us, we want to lose weight, we want to get in our best shape. You know, it's almost the end of the year. We're thinking about, I want to get to my goals. Summertime is coming around the corner. But like, if we dig deeper, when I dig deeper, beyond just losing the weight and feeling better, it's really, I don't want something to have that type of control over me. I want to be free. And my emotions don't have control over me. And so I like this verse because it speaks to that. I have a garden. If you hear water, it's my arrow garden. It's literally right here. It's growing some really pretty tomatoes. You know, if you're like me and you feel like you use food to deal with emotions, whether they're good or bad, figure out ways to change that so that you're not running to food as a master, but something else. And for me, that something else is God. That something else is submitting to God. And saying, okay, Lord, I need help with this. So, all right, am I going to share the vegan cheesecake cup recipe? Not the exact recipe, okay? Now, let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. Part of it is because, I'm a personal chef. I actually make these for my business. I did a Thanksgiving haul. I'm going to do a Christmas haul. You know, personalized touch to say thank you for the order. And of course, business card in case they want to use me again. Chef. Hey, take a screenshot if you're in the Greensboro Triad area. So I can't share the exact recipe because it's part of how I make my money. But I can share general principles. Let me walk you through it. So first, my crust is Biscoff cookies, right? I am doing everything plant-based, so I use vegan butter instead of regular butter. With the Biscoff cookies, it makes a nice crust for me that still has good flavor. I'll add a little bit of cinnamon, sometimes a little bit of ginger, and I also use a little bit of coconut sugar to make sure that sweetness is where it needs to be. If you have like those parchment muffin tops, or not muffin tops, the muffin containers, the silicone cups, or you can even put it in a muffin pan and just pat it down, cover it with saran wrap, and then put it in the freezer for about 15-20 minutes just so that bottom layer can really solidify before you put the cheesecake filling in. That'll be super helpful. All right, then you go to the cheesecake filling. So I keep saying cheesecake filling. It's not cheesecake, it's really cashew filling. So it's two parts. I soak my cashews. So I get about 200 grams, so about a cup and a half of cashews. And the way that I make these soft, I'll boil hot water, pour them over the cashews, and let them soak for at least 2 hours. You could go overnight in the fridge, but I do a minimum 2 hours boiled water. And then what really helps is have a lot of creaminess is this coconut yogurt. I love the cocoa yogurt. It's this brand right here, Coco June vanilla, and it's unsweetened. That's super important. Usually when you eat a cheesecake, it has like that nice tang because of the cream cheese. I get that by adding a little bit of lemon zest as well as lemon juice, fresh lemon juice. Of course, the main flavor is going to be vanilla, so gotta add vanilla extract. Blend it all together until it gets nice and creamy, and then pour that on top of the crust that's now set. And then really all you have to do is put saran wrap over it, put that in the fridge to let it set. And then once it's set, then I'll put it in the freezer so that way it can kind of keep that molded shape. Here's an example, little silicone cup, right? It's a little soft because it's been out of the freezer, but you see that crust, right? It reminds me almost of a Reese's cup, except it's cheesecake. Let's just do a taste test. Just go for it. It's so good. Look. So the crust is still pretty solid because we froze it. Okay, Google, what's today's date?
It's Wednesday, December 4th, 2024.
It'll be December 6th, 2024. Friday. Thank you, Google. I don't need any more help. Thank you. Let's start now. Let's not wait until January 1st to say, all right, I'm going to do this. Let's start now asking ourselves that question of, why am I eating this? if you have a sweet tooth craving, why am I wanting this? Not I shouldn't have it. I'm gonna eat a little bit, but go one step low beneath that. Why do I want this? So if you struggle with sweet tooth cravings or sugar cravings, looking for a plant-based recipe, I would encourage you to try this out and not be so hard on yourself if you're having struggles with balancing it all. It's hard. It's hard for everybody, including me. I literally finished that. It's all gone. It's done. It was really good. I want to know in the comments, what tips do y'all have? Because I need help too. I don't have all the answers.